meeting to order, the meeting of the Marin Local Agency Formation Commission on this Valentine's Day 2019. Candace, would you like to call the roll?
Sashi McEntee. Oh, sorry, my bad. Sashi McEntee.
Here.
Greg K. Murray.
Here.
Sloan Bailey is absent. Alternate Matt Brown.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Damon Connolly.
Here.
Dennis Rodoni.
Here.
Chris Skelton.
Here.
Alternates Lou Kias. Caius. I'm sorry, Caius. I knew it. I just panicked. Caius. That's it. Roll's been taken.
Very good.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, now time for review of the agenda. Anyone like to make any changes, rearrange anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move the approved agenda. Second.
Approved by Commissioner Murray, seconded by Commissioner Baker. All in favor?
Yes. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Agenda is approved. We'll now move on to public open time. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission on any matter not on the current agenda. If you want to address this on an item that is on the agenda, please wait till we get there. All statements that require a response will be referred to staff for reply in writing and or will be placed on the commission's agenda for consideration at a later meeting. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anybody would like to address the commission at public open time? Seeing none, I'll close public open time and we will move on to the consent calendar. Anyone want to pull anything from the consent calendar? Anyone on the commission
I'd
or
like
in the
to
audience?
approve, pull item 1 minutes, just some
Okay.
corrections on that.
Okay. Anything else? So then we will, I'll entertain a motion to the rest of the consent calendar, which is item 2. Anyone want to make a motion?
I will so move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Brown, seconded by Commissioner Skelton. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Oh, I should have done public comment there, shouldn't I? Any public comment on the consent calendar? Okay, let's move to item 1.
Just, there's a couple typos, and I'll get back to Candace on those. Judy Schrademan, one of the persons speaking, her name was spelled wrong, and I just caught a few of those, so I'll just, don't mind, maybe we can bring those back, changes.
Okay, you want, are they just clerical errors or substantive?
Minor clerical errors.
Okay, I think for a clerical error, we can probably approve it with
That's fine.
the changes. Yeah.
I had one correction. I emailed Candace earlier this evening, but for the October 11th minutes, I think it's item number 4. I had recused myself and I was identified as being a voting member for aye. So
It's item 5, but yes.
Pardon me.
And we
Yep.
caught that.
Perfect. Okay. So with that modification and then the clerical modifications, I'd make a motion to approve item 1, the minutes for October 11th and December 13th, 2018.
I'll second it. Go ahead, Jack.
Seconded by Commissioner Baker. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, close public comment. All in favor?
Yep.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Move on to business items. Item number 3, Jason.
Yes, excuse me, Jason Freed, your executive officer. Item 3 on the agenda is file number 1339. It's an application to move currently an area into the sanitary district for Novato. It's what's referred to as Hamilton Hospital. You may remember this was presented as an informational item at the last meeting. Nothing has really changed in the application or any information. All interested and affected agencies have come back either in support or neutral on this annexation, which is common for this to occur. And this is, as a reminder, this is something that occurred as part of a bigger approval process for the redoing of part of the Navy base of the Hamilton Hospital and turning into an assisted living facility. The applicant is here if there's any questions. Otherwise, I would staff recommendation is to approve.
Any questions from the commission for staff?
I had one question. It had to go to capacity, and maybe it's better suited for the applicant.
Okay.
But
If you went to the small table over there is where the public comment seat is. The podium isn't working today for them, so.
my question is, I saw in the application materials that you had contacted Novato Sanitation and that there was, I guess, more than enough capacity for the facility. I just wanted to confirm that you did contact them and that was the response. There wasn't any documentation to support it.
Yes, hit the little button that has a speaker, that has the little face speaking out. There you go.
Yeah, we've contacted Nevada Sanitary District, and they're actually currently reviewing our plans, so, and there's no problems with capacity or anything.
Could you identify yourself, please?
Oh, sorry, James Sponda, I'm with Robertson Engineering.
Any further questions from the commission?
And Chair, I just wanted to confirm you had opened the public hearing as part of this item?
Thank you, Council. We will now open the public hearing. And thank you very much for that. Do you have anything further to add as the applicant?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and bring it back for deliberation among the commission. Any further deliberations or a motion?
I will move approval of the staff recommendation 1, approve the requested annexation as described, and approve the attached resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Should I have closed the public hearing before I made the motion? I should have asked
Yes,
you this before.
for the next one, you can open the public hearing and then close it and
And then
take the
close it.
motion. Exactly.
Got it. You got it. All right. Moving on. Item 4, Jason. Thank you.
Sure. Are we opening the public hearing first? You're opening the public hearing on item number 4?
Okay, let's, before the staff report?
So why don't we hold the staff report, and then once you're done with the staff report, then the
Then we
chair can
open.
open the public hearing. We'll take all the public comment, and then we'll close the public hearing, and then take a motion on the item.
Sounds like a great plan.
All right, perfect. So item number 4 was also heard at the last commission meeting as an informational only item. This is for 28 Teaberry Lane in unincorporated area near Tiburon. It actually exists inside of an island. There was a question that came up last time about the dual annexation or that would occur going into Tiburon. This particular parcel is in the center of the island. It does not touch in any way, shape, or form any part of Tiburon. So it would be a rather awkward request to put this one parcel in the middle of an island inside, make that as part of Tiburon. So I don't think that at this point in time, it's a good time to try and do the annexation into both into the sanitary district and into the city at the same time. They are looking to build a new single-family home and looking to connect into the sewer system there, which runs near the property. So they need to be annexed into sanitary district number 5. So I don't think that at this point it makes sense to actually have this be a dual annex parcel, but it's a good always to review those. And then this one, as I said, is in the center of the island and doesn't touch the city in any way. The applicant and the representative of the applicant, both an engineer and their legal counsel, are here. So if you have any questions, they are happy to answer those at the public hearing time.
Any questions for staff? I do have one question, Jason. In one of the files we heard last time, we added a condition to not oppose future annexations to the city should they occur. Is that something we could consider here?
That is something that we could legally consider here. The one bit of heartburn it would actually give me to do that for this particular application is we actually haven't had that. I had that discussion because you mentioned it to me when you showed up. So when the applicant's representatives arrived, I had a quick conversation with them about this, but we really haven't had a chance to have a full discussion so they could have a thought about what it is. That's not to say that we couldn't potentially try, if you wanted to. The commission has every right to put that similar clause of if they, when an annexation does come for that entire island, that they would not object to it, similar to what we did for 610 Calle de la Mesa at the last meeting.
Yes, Commissioner Baker.
On that same subject, I think hasn't that been our customary practice in the past, is not just sort of like a verbal, agreement, a handshake, but signing a document where this is something recorded.
That is what we had.
They're committed to do that.
Yeah, that is what we got for 610 Calle de la Mesa. It was a signed
And
document.
I think before your watch, we have done that fairly consistently over the past
That is quite possible, but since it was before my watch, I don't have.
Yeah,
record.
I think we have done that pretty regularly.
I will trust that one of our commissioners who's been on the commission for a few years. I would.
Yeah, okay.
Well, and it sounds like maybe that's something that we might want to add to the policy handbook, if it's something that we've been doing consistently. We can make a note of that for discussion later.
Yeah, I'm happy to make
Okay.
a note of that for discussion.
Okay, so if there are no more questions for staff, then I'll open the public hearing, and we can hear from the applicant. Anything?
We have questions.
Does anyone have questions for the applicant?
Well, do you have any problem with whoever the proper
Could you
person
come up to-
representing this to signing an agreement where they're committed to, when that area is subject to annexation to Tiburon, that they would, not fight it? They would agree.
Tag
Well,
and right.
I'm just the representative of the applicant, so I would appreciate a chance to go back and actually talk to the applicant about that. Sounds reasonable, but it was just presented to me just before the meeting began tonight.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I have two questions. The first is the same question I asked the prior applicant with these sanitation district annexations. One of the questions in the application materials was the current capacity for the local agency, in this case SD5. And I think in the application materials it says unknown. Have you reached out to SD5 and identified their capacity? I understand this is a single-family residence with an accessory dwelling unit.
Hi, my name is Armin. I'm a general contractor who built the house.
Can you turn the mic on, please?
My name is Armin. I'm a general contractor who built the house. The house is already finished and sewer is already connected to number 5 Sanitary District. I contacted them like a year ago to put the permits to connect to the sanitary district. They gave me all the permits and everything with no problem. They did the inspections, they passed the inspections. So far was there no problem with that. Only problem came out at the end when I was trying to pass the final inspection and the county asked from the sewer department to give me some kind of paperwork. That's when this annexation came out.
Got it. So it's been in use for a year. And it doesn't sound like it's a capacity problem.
The house is not occupied, it's empty. Yeah, well, it's connected, it's been connected for a year.
Okay.
If I may. This sounds kind of strange. I mean, the house is built and this started a year ago and paperwork got lost or something. That's kind of atypical. Usually these take a while to go through the legal process.
I know this was supposed to be done way before.
Well, that always happens. That's not unusual.
Yeah.
Whether it's building a house or connecting to a special district. So I think somebody somewhere, something fell through the cracks perhaps or wasn't pursued to closure.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that it should be just, treated like it's trivial.
Standing 5 informed us that we needed to go through this process.
Right. That's why you're here, yeah.
That's why we're here. So-
But your gentleman seems to like this is a little nuisance. I think, it's something fell through the cracks perhaps.
Yeah, I know, I understand that it was supposed to be done way before they start the project, but somehow somebody forgot to do this.
Well,
Commissioner Brown.
No, I had a question relative to the requirement or for the condition. Graphically, it'd be interesting to see where this is within the island. All I have is this. But relative to the borders of Tiburon, and we have that information?
If you give me just a second, I can probably pull up Marin maps and show you where it's at.
While you're doing that, may I ask the applicant another question? Do you know, are all the properties adjoining and contiguous with this property connected to SD5?
I'm unaware of the
I believe so. Jason
will be able to pull it up in Marin
I believe
maps as well.
I believe everybody else is.
There is no other sanitary lines going in that area. Only under the project drive was that one sanitary line, sewer line that belongs to sanitary fire district.
It doesn't mean that they're not on septic or some other.
That's spelled. Oh, there's misspelled.
Org?
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Then, yeah. .org. No. Huh.
Was it was in, wasn't it in the last time?
Jason, The map itself that shows the island, the full island, and the parcel itself is not in the packet. That is not what's required for our packets. So that's not part of the application process itself, but I did pull up the map. And it's a parcel like that big, and literally in the center of the parcel is where, or in the center of the island is where this parcel exists. It's as far away from any boundaries you could possibly get for any parcel in the island.
So, that would be useful in the future just for our use, Jason, if next time you could put that map, even though it's not part of the application, just for our ability to visualize it. And then I'm just recalling, I kind of remember to the question of whether there other parcels were connected to sanitary. I might be confusing it with another file. Do you recall whether the other parcels are?
This is one of those areas where it's kind of a semi-checkerboard type effect that occurs because the area has been historically, a lot of the houses are on septic, but anytime anything new occurs, the county does not let you be on septic anymore if at all possible. So as parcels are going off of septic, or if they're undeveloped and now being developed for the first time, they will always be tied into a sanitary district. So that is just part of the county's process, from what I understand. And so that this is one of those cases where that just, it's one that I don't know if there's anything on the parcel before the house was built, but it's now being tied into the district because they built a new house there. So they said, the county said, in order to do this, you can't put a septic tank in. You have to connect to SD5.
Any further questions for the applicant? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, bring it back to the Commission for deliberation.
I have a comment and a question for council. Comment is that similar to the Nevada property, 611 Cala de la Mesa, I think it was, I think it's important for us to be consistent in our application, and especially in this area of town where, in the future, it's possible that this all could be annexed into Tiburon, and basically paving a smooth path for that. I think it's a good idea to adopt a similar condition we did last time, which effectively prohibits the homeowner from opposing any future annexation. Who knows the likelihood of that happening anytime in our lifetime, but it's a good thing to have, at least on the books. The question for council is, part of the resolution, we're adopting a finding under CEQA, and that finding has to deal with capacity, and that that there is capacity. If there's no information or evidence in the record to suggest one way or another, what do we do about that?
I think is my understanding that the sanitary district hasn't opposed this, so I would think that if they did have a concern about capacity, we would have a letter opposing this.
Yeah.
So I guess it's the reverse in that the presumption is there is capacity, since the sanitary district hasn't taken a position opposing this annexation.
And the lead agency is the sanitary district, right? And they have indicated that it's exempt. Do we?
Because the applicant is the property owner in this case.
Well, so it's in the application, it says it's exempt from CEQA. So
Correct.
Who did that? Who did the exemption?
We're taking that
We're
position.
taking that position, okay.
Exactly. And then I think that gets to the commissioner's question, is that I think the presumption is that since the sanitary district has not opposed it, that there is capacity.
It's categorically exempt. That's the
Correct.
Yeah.
And I would add that when this house was going through the development or through the approvals through the county, they gave the same exemption that we gave. So we're kind of copying the exemption that they gave as well. So
I think, point of clarification, I think there are actually two different exemptions. At the county level, it was a 15301, which is a new single-family residence, and this is a 15319, which it has to do with basically making a finding that the facilities would have capacity to serve the this facility.
and we make that determination based on the last MSR that we did for that jurisdiction, that they still had capacity, and since this is a single family home, not adding that much to what they're currently doing, we can easily make that assumption.
I think a comment more for going forward, and I guess it ties in a little bit to including the map or other information, would be if the applicant doesn't provide that information and we, as the commission or as LAFCo, are going to make those assumptions, then we need to include just whatever reference to the NSR that says, based on this information, there is capacity.
Wait, so, I'm sorry, are you contesting whether it's 15301 or whether it's 15?
I'm not contesting anything, I'm just saying what the staff report says, that it's 15319.
No, it says 15301, isn't it?
Oh, this,
This one
the
is for
resolution.
Ah, the resolution, okay.
I think what you're asking for is
Is
in
that-
the future to have more of that detail about capacity in the staff report.
I was okay with the last applicant because he said, I spoke with the district, they've approved, they've said it's okay. And on his application materials, he said that there is sufficient capacity. So it's just something that's in the record. And this one, the applicant said, I don't know. It's unknown.
But as we go through this process, we have talked with the district, and so we are aware, like they agree that no, our findings are the same, that there's a capacity there. So just because the application says, we don't know because they're a single family home and don't have the same resources as a big facility would, we do talk with the district. So it's not like that is being ignored in our process.
So, but that's a good catch, because in the resolution, it says, what, Matt, 15319B, and then in the documentation from the county, it says 15301 Class 1. So do we need to fix that, Molly?
No,
Yeah, they're
we're using a
different.
different exemption.
Different sections.
Yeah, so we do have the correct exemption, I think, with the information that we received about the MSR also indicating we have enough capacity with this district. You have the information you need to move forward should you decide to.
Got it. Commissioner Baker?
But notwithstanding your discussions with the district and your confidence, as I share, that they were able and have the capacity to serve, it seems to me that, and I'm not sure we've always done this, but there should be a statement, a letter from the district acknowledging this application and that they do intend, they have the capacity and they do intend to serve it.
The district already gave me the permit to connect.
Could you go to the mic, please?
District already gave me permit to connect to the sewer. They give me that a year ago, and we connected, and they charged me $32,000 to make the connections.
Well, that's good, but I think we still should have a document that formalizes what you're trying to tell us, sir.
So if they give me the permit to connect, so it means they have the capacity.
Well, that may be sufficient, but I'm in my past experience, there's, in addition to a permit to connect, like an encroachment permit or something that they're doing.
I'm sorry, Mike.
I keep hitting, it keeps going off. It's more customary to have a letter to an agency like this acknowledging the project. They have the capacity and they do intend to serve the project. In addition to your permit to make the connection. They're not quite the same. They're maybe overlap a little bit, but they're not quite the same thing. So I think there should be something to us. Not say because that we didn't get anything where they objected and said they can't serve. It should be the other way around.
Their response to us was that they were in support of this application.
Okay? And there should be, to me, my experience.
I hear what you're saying, and I can try and get that in the
It might
future
only be a
from
sentence or
them.
two.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I will try and get that from future sewer districts.
Well,
when
it should be for all of them.
Yeah.
Did you have something to add?
No, I was just going to
Okay.
say that certainly if we had been asked to provide such documentation, we would have, but nowhere during this process were we asked to do that. And again, there was no opposition, and even when we spoke to them about formalizing this and taking it up to the county, they just said we needed to go through this process. They didn't voice any objection to the connection itself.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Stelton?
I was going to say, I'd make a motion if everyone's ready.
Vice Chair Norrie?
So you're Elizabeth, right?
No, I'm thinking.
Oh, Amy, okay. So in the application, it does list the folks to contact. Elizabeth Bracos, who's the attorney, and as well as an effective notice to Sanitary District Number 5 John Rosner permits and inspections, so of this proceeding and notice. So I think what you provided tonight verbally and what we hear from our staff, that's cool. But certainly what Board Commissioner Jack had mentioned, I think that's something we really want to follow through on and make sure that these things are consistent as applications come in. And if you work on things in the future, then make sure those are in place. So we don't have to go through this too often. That's relatively clear. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Yeah, I was going to make a motion to approve the application with 2 amendments. One is to add a condition prohibiting the homeowner from opposing any future annexation of the island to the town of Tiburon. Or I'd actually just leave off town of Tiburon if just any annexation. Then the second amendment would be for the applicant to provide a will serve letter from the district. I'd suggest within 30 days. If they already have it, it's really just, paperwork for the file. But I mean, to Jack's point, I think it's important that there is consistency in how the files are kept and the information we're provided.
Yeah, I guess I
Mike.
I would question that. I mean, in terms of the legal basis for requiring either, I guess without fully understanding what you're trying to propose.
Yeah. So the legal basis for the will serve letter is that presently there's insufficient information in the application materials to basically satisfy the findings that we're making. And so by having a will serve letter.
I don't know if that's the correct assumption.
I mean, we have staff that said that we can look back at the MSR, and that's fine. And I do appreciate that. I'm trying to help avoid the applicant coming back for another hearing in 2 months and to get it approved based on the information that we've heard tonight.
Mike. They're
Would
tricky.
they, absent what we have now, would they have to come back?
I mean, if you approve tonight, then no. If you approve with conditions and they meet those conditions, they don't have to come back either. So it's a question of if you want to put conditions on it or not.
I mean, I've heard sufficient to approve it tonight, but legally, am I in error in concluding that?
No, I think it just depends if you want that will serve letter or not, or if you're comfortable
It
with
sounds like
the
a lot of
assertions in
paperwork for the
that.
applicant. If it's not necessary, I'm not sure it's appropriate.
On the condition for future annexation, since they haven't had a chance to discuss it with the applicant.
Yeah, and I think number one, number two, it's got to track legal language. If the legality relates to a specific city, we need to name the city. But I also do take note that the representative has requested the ability to kind of discuss it with their client.
Well, so if we put the condition on and they discuss it with their client and their client has an objection for some reason, then it would just have to come back and we would have to in the middle. Thank you. If the client had some objection and we had put the condition on it, what would be the procedure for them to come back to us?
I guess they could come back and ask for a change of condition, to ask for that condition to be removed, should you so desire. But I would presume they would, and maybe we can ask them that they prefer you make the condition as opposed to continue it for a couple of months.
Yeah, the one thing that, remember, if we do whatever decision we make, there is a process within state government code around a protest over it. So they could say, we want to protest this particular condition, at which point we would bring it back here for them to do that protest.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table right now with 2 conditions. Does anyone want, do we want to amend? Does anyone want a second? Dennis?
Well, I just wanted to comment that I think the condition of dual annexation has been well established, that we require that. So I'd be willing to accept that amendment if it included the city of Tiburon. The second request I don't think is necessary because that willingness to serve letter is available somewhere in a file. They would have never gotten a county permit without a willingness to serve letter. And so I think that's something we could have tracked down and put in the file if it was necessary from other sources, or you may have it available. So I wouldn't want to condition that on this, because the sanitary district could have just outright, flat out rejected this proposal and not made this service or provided this service if they didn't feel they had necessary capacity. So I think we have to remember that they could nix the whole proposal by just saying, no, we don't want to do this, whenever this comes into them. The fact that they've accepted it means that they're willing to serve and they have capacity in my mind.
Commissioner Skelton, would you be willing to accept the friendly amendment of just the first condition?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Skelton and a second by Commissioner Rodoni. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, we are now moving on to interviews for the public member seat and possible appointment. Jason.
Okay, Jason Fried, once again. So as you are
I'm going to
aware.
recuse myself.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, we should probably do that first. Chair, can you?
Yeah, I'm just noting that Commissioner Skelton is recusing himself to participate in the process.
So, as you're aware, Commissioner Blanchfield retired from LAFCo after a long service here of 22 years. We are now in the process of doing our filling the seat, the remainder of his term. Tonight, you actually have two options, or you actually have a whole bunch of options, but you have two different seats that you can fill tonight. You have the remainder of Jeff's seat, and you have the seat was naturally going to expire in May any which way. So you also have the ability to fill Jeff's seat starting in May. So you can make a determination of however you want to fill the seat. You can pick the same person to fill the remainder of the term and the new term, or you can pick different people. You could pick no one. The choice is completely up to you. The conditions that state government code put on the public seat itself are that we must have a majority of the commission voting in favor of the applicant. Plus, we have to have at least one person from each of the three appointing body or groups to LAFCO. So you have to have at least one county person voting for them, one city person voting for them, and one special district person voting for them. So in reality, if you were to have our two county seats and our two city seats voting for, and the two special districts voting nay, so it would be a 4-2 vote, no one would be appointed at that point, because you don't have a special district in that situation. So that carries for all of them. You do have in your packet a set of preset questions, which are very similar to what we asked the last time. The chair and the vice chair and I sat down and went over the questions, and we kind of consolidated them a little bit to save a little bit of time tonight, because we know what tonight is, and we wanted to let you get back to your loved ones after our meeting is over. So we consolidated those questions down. The applicants received all questions ahead of time. It was in the packet that I sent them, so hopefully they read the whole packet and were able to determine that they saw the questions and are prepared to answer them. We do have a clock that we will set for each person when they're speaking. Oop, let me get this to the right spot here. They're going to get 2 minutes here. They will get 2 minutes to answer each question. I don't know why this thing keeps sticking there. Oh, nope, not 2 hours. Not 20 minutes. There we go. 2 minutes each to do this, and they will have a countdown clock. There are seats gentlemen, if you want to take your seats up there, so you'll have mics.
And Jason, so we'll go through the questions, and then, or you're going to hand out ballots, or what's the procedure?
You will then, all votes are done publicly, so we will do a roll call. You will say who you want to vote for, and we will continue at it until either you determine that you have picked the person you want, or we come to a loggerhead and you decide that there is no ability to make a decision tonight, and you make a motion to make no decision tonight.
Okay. We did do paper ballots last time. Do you have any?
It needs to be an open process, so if you did paper ballots, it would still need to be publicly available to see it. So
okay, fine. Yeah, Commissioner Baker.
We do this infrequently. Usually it's done by the voters or our colleagues of the districts. The last time we did it with Jeff, when we voted, I think that if I remember right, we took turns. We had one person, we asked questions.
Yep.
They made their pitch.
Yep.
And the others were asked, to kind of leave and let the other person do their thing. We're not going to do that?
We're not going to do that. We're going to ask each question to each person in turn, and we'll rotate who answers the question first. And there are 6 questions and 6 of us here, so we can go down the line. If you want to, actually, if you want to take the first one, we can do that. We can start with Cliff answering the first question first. Lawrence will answer the second question first. Chris answer the third question first, and go around. Okay.
Just want to know which button is the
That's the first question. Don't ask me.
This is the correct button? Okay, thank you. That's your correct button, and Chris, you know the buttons already.
All right, well then, if there's nothing else, Jason, shall we get started?
Get started.
Thank you very much for...
Sasha, you said there was, I'm only seeing 5.
It's there, question 5 has 2 parts.
So you'll get the last part.
You'll get B instead of A.
You'll get 5.
You're welcome to, I actually, if you want, I don't mind not giving a question, you guys can do the rest of them. All right, Jack, why don't you go ahead with question 1?
Tell the commission something about yourself and the reasons why you applied for this position, the LAFCO regular public member position.
Hi, my name's Clifford Waldeck. I've lived in Marin County since 1965. And the main reason I want to be on LAFCO is I'm fascinated by it. It's something that most people don't know about, and it's an important tool for good government to go forward. And I feel strongly that especially here in Marin County, we have to improve as time goes on, and that includes changing or adapting to new times and new realities when it comes to special districts, boundaries, looking over APAs. And my experience has been, I served 8 years on the Mill Valley City Council, so it's fun being on a local city council. And also I served in a few regional boards too, where I served 8 years and 1 year as chair on the Regional Water Quality Control Board and Bay Conservation Development Commission, and also chaired the Regional Airport Planning Committee. So I see the public seat as the background of working very hands-on and local, and my experience as a regional person just makes it so I'm not on anything at all now. Kind of cleared my slate, and I wanted to get back into local involvement, so that's why I've applied to be on LAFCO.
Thank you.
My name's Larry Loader. I have been in Marin, I think, about 45 years. Moved here from Fresno. I'm a civil engineer, and I've had several different positions in different agencies, statewide to county to city. And I have I've had occasion to come before LAFCO, not in this county, but in Contra Costa County 3 times as part of the Richmond Parkway projects. I think I can add to the board, not that the board needs adding, but I mean, I think I could asset to this. I've worked with several different agencies during the course of my career. I worked in Fresno County, and then I worked in Marin County for 10 years, Richmond for almost 20, working with different agencies in the development of the projects that I've worked on. So I know quite a bit how water districts work, other districts, how to negotiate and work sustainable way in doing these projects, I think I could be helpful. And I've been working for a while, and I think perhaps I could help and I could in this, and that's about it. I did quite a bit of my application. It wasn't meant to. I just wanted to put before you the different places I've worked and the different kinds of projects that I've worked on, and the different kinds of city councils and supervisors. I've also been an elected official at a sewer board for 2.5.
Larry, I'm sorry, I'm just going to cut you off because we're at the time, but you'll get a chance to say some of that in the next question, I
Okay.
think. Chris.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Chris Skelton, and it's been my pleasure for nearly 2 years to serve as the alternate public member for LAFCo. During that short period of time, I've had an opportunity to not only see firsthand what LAFCo does, but also to see what former Chair Blanchfield did as the public member. Huge shoes to fill. I think he's been a LAFCO member or commissioner for over 2 decades. And I applied with great enthusiasm because I'm an energetic younger person who wants to try to fill those shoes and follow in those footsteps and really pick up where he left off in representing the public seat. And I hope that through my limited experience on LAFCo, each of you have seen the enthusiasm that I bring to the position. Recently, I've had the pleasure of being able to serve on 2 subcommittees. I think the members that I serve with hopefully will recognize the time and effort that I put into that work, and that hopefully reveals my dedication to the position. Other things about me, I generally volunteer my time in and around the community just as a matter of habit. I've served as a West Marin Little League baseball coach. I currently serve as a next level sports flag football coach. And in the spring, I'm going to serve as a youth lacrosse coach. I'm a previous planning commissioner in Mill Valley. And so in a lot of different vehicles I've used to reach a broader audience and to give back to the community at large. And I hope to be able to continue to do that here on LAFCo.
Thank you, Chris. Vice Chair Murray, you take question 2.
Right. So, candidates, what experience have you had in land use planning, and how can you use that background to be assistants of LAFCo?
Start with Larry.
Richmond Parkway, because it's okay, thank you. But the Richmond Parkway was a brand-new road with no alignment, no specific alignment for 7 miles. And it was going to make a great impact on the area that it went through. There was no road there before. So, and it went through the county and 2 cities. And we developed the road not only for the transportation project, but for the benefit of the area. And we particularly spent much time on working with the neighborhood. We relocated, I think, about 70 people. We provided very good housing for them. But the community, I think, benefited greatly with that project. And right now it's, I think, done a lot for the neighborhood as well as for the larger circulation system that it helps. That's about what I...
Yes, so I'm a land use and real estate attorney by profession, by day, and I'm a planning nerd by night. I've thought a number of years ago about going back and getting a master's in land use and planning. I love it. I think it's awesome. I'm fascinated by the built environment. I've had the pleasure and privilege of appearing before nearly every commission and council here in Marin County. There isn't an inch of Marin County that doesn't fascinate me, whether you're talking about the city corridor or, deep West Marin, Inverness area. I've worked on projects as an applicant. I've counseled applicants. Before joining LAFCo a number of years ago, I ushered an application through LAFCO. I've also had the pleasure of working alongside LAFCO and the former executive officer in passing state legislation, which coincidentally is on maybe boomeranging back around on a future agenda for Belmarin Keys and their enforcement of CCNRs. I think I have not only a broad experience in planning, but it's also a deep experience, and it's mostly rooted here in Marin County. So I think that I bring those skill sets to all the applications that come before LAFCO. Thank you.
Well, I concur with Mr. Skelton's enthusiasm because I am a wonk myself, and since I've been off the council, it's been over 10 years now. I take great pleasure in helping people, whether it's through testimony or getting support for a project or an initiative, and so that's where my heart's at. My experience, I talked about being on BCDC, which is interesting. It's kind of like LAFCO in the sense you talk about the shoreline band and fill in the bay and things like that. And for the last 4 years, I'm a sales person, and I do most of my business in San Francisco and Marin County. One of the other things I'm involved with while I'm in San Francisco is San Francisco Chamber of Commerce Public Policy Committee, as well as the Bay Area Council. And the Bay Area Council, they get their hands in, there's a water committee, a water transportation committee, a land use committee, their housing, and it's like, I don't need to be center of the action or even part of the action, but I love being around the action. And I think the other important thing in terms of land use planning, I profess I don't know the law that well as much as our legal people here, but I also think land use planning has a lot to do with bringing people together and reaching consensus, and that includes taking a few kicks in the stomach along the way to help people get together.
Matt, go ahead.
Thank you guys for applying. Our question number 3 for each of you. What experience have you had in connection with the delivery of local government services, and what is your understanding of LAFCO's role in local government?
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. My involvement in delivery of local government services, I'd say is really kind of threefold. One, previous planning commissioner in Mill Valley, so familiar with, sitting on a commission, hearing public testimony, evaluating applications, and issuing decisions, even if they're hard decisions. And as most of you know, as supervisors or council members and even special districts from time to time, there are projects that come before you that are contentious, and you have to make hard decisions. The other aspect that I've delivered local government services as serving as counsel for a special district. So I've seen it from that angle as well. And then the third, it's less in delivery of local government services, but it's still an important perspective to bring is from an applicant's perspective. And I think that's actually one of the most important perspectives because it's rare that feedback gets circulated back to staff or the commission. And so having gone through a number of experiences in a variety of different capacities, in a variety of different jurisdictions, I understand that perspective. And so I think that that's really important. What does LAFCo do? Here in Marin County, we don't have the same kind of applications as many other bigger counties. Here, I think, in my opinion, the fundamental purpose of LAFCO is preservation of ag land and then efficient and effective use of government resources. And so, yeah, I've participated in that for the past 2 years, and I think I'll with your guys' blessing, continue to participate in that endeavor for the upcoming future.
My experience of being on the Mill Valley City Council, I was a very active member of the council. I made sure I went to all the MCCMC meetings, learn about what's going on in all these other jurisdictions. I pride myself in working well with staff and with my fellow commissioners. With my fellow city council people. You try not to blindside anybody. Every time you open your mouth, you extend the meeting. So you only want to say things that move the process along. And I found that and then again, it's paying attention to what people have to say. And also, you don't even have to be on the council to do this. So many people are intimidated by their government. Well, what do I do? What do I do? Well, I said, well, just call this person up or email that person. And because I would hope before anything comes to the commission itself, it's fully, I don't like this, fully baked enough that it's only certain details that need to be ironed out in front of the board. I'm excited about Marin LAFCo because I followed sewage consolidation very closely when that was going on. I've taught, we all follow the fire departments, and again, it's working with these people in these organizations so it makes sense. Not because LAFCO does a thou shalt. It's just that we all gotten together, we figured out what makes the most sense, and LAFCO is the wedding chapel where we all get married.
As I said in my submission, I have been on the Las Colinas Valley Sanitary District for 2.5 terms. And at that time, I think we did a lot of great things. We built a completely new recycled water plant, and we expanded the use of recycled water in that whole area, that whole jurisdiction. I really enjoyed working and being on that board. And I think when I worked at the county, we worked on several projects that were not large projects, but we brought in a lot of the some suggestions of the people. We took plans out ahead of time and went through with them. And I think I've never been on a board like this before, but I think if you are determined to help people and can understand how you can help people, it's really helpful. I also know this, I don't know the exact name of where the different agencies have reports and have have review of what they're doing. I think, and then that's brought back to here, as I understand it. I think that's a very good place to be helpful when you look at what the specific jurisdictions are doing in detail, and take the time to look through those and see if it can be helpful, and if there are any problems that can be acted upon when you have the time to do that. And that's one of the big things that I would like to use my skills at, is looking at the municipal service reviews and recommendations. I think that's a very important part of LAFCo, is doing that, as it gives you time and it gives you data that you can use in some detailed recommendations and reviews. And that's a big part of what I think is important in LAFCO, and that's what I would like to really be focusing on. I know that...
Thank you, Larry. I'm sorry, I got
that's
to
it?
cut
Okay.
you off there. Go ahead, Dennis.
Thank you. I think this question's for, starting with Cliff. What's your understanding of the public members' function on LAFCO? And do you foresee any problems with your availability to attend LAFCO meetings or committee meetings that might be during the day?
I have no conflict at all. I have a flexible schedule. And what was the first part of the question?
What is your understanding of the public members' function on LAFCO?
Yeah, I mean, and that's where I'm enthusiastic about, because the public member, is more, I mean, I see it kind of threefold. One, kind of an agnostic eye on what's going on, because it's not like I'll be part of any organization or group that's affected by it. And then two, be a person working through the chair and staff, that if there is any outreach to be done, because you're the public member, you're able to go out and, attend the meeting or the hearing or the community group there. And also, if your public member has lots of background on what's going on, but is still hungry to learn, because I know enough about LAFCO to tell people that I know what LAFCO is, or, answer a Jeopardy question, but I'm really looking forward to this being like taking a college class again to expand my knowledge and the breadth and depth of LAFCO.
I wonder if you could restate that question.
What is your understanding of the public members' function on LAFCO? And then do you foresee any problem with your availability to attend LAFCO meetings or committee meetings, which might be during the day?
But it's the only member that's not on a political board, as I understand. And I think it gives him a bit of freedom and to discuss something with the person coming before you, that you can be free and discuss entirely what you want to do. And that's one of the main things, is the fact of the one thing, part of the data that you receive during those information on the different districts, and the fact that you can talk to someone coming in here, like someone tonight, that I think probably needed a little bit of help, and I think you can feel free to go over and talk to him. You have no allegiance in any other body that you can go back and maybe talk to him and explain to him a little bit, or maybe perhaps talk enough to get the data that you need to finish the situation that he was under. I've been here at 3 meetings now, I think, and it appears that these, to us perhaps, and to you more than me, these can become intimidating to come here before a board like this. And when they come with maybe not a huge problem, or maybe a problem that they haven't been able to get addressed by some agency properly, that you can feel free to go and maybe talk to him and try to help him maybe in a one-on-one situation. And I think that's very helpful. These meetings can be intimidating. I've known that throughout my career. People coming before boards, as I am right now, I feel somewhat intimidated. I've done this a lot of times, but I've done it recently. But I think it's good to have someone that can be like an ombudsman or something. Maybe that's not quite the right term, but that's something that you can help and possibly expedite something that won't continue on or need more and more work. There was another part of the question on that.
Just your availability for meetings and committee meetings.
I'm totally free.
Thank you. Chris, you good with the question?
Yes, thank you. I'm cheating, I have it in front of me.
It's not cheating, that's preparation.
Yeah, exactly.
Be careful, mix it up on you.
Yeah. So my understanding of the public member's function, it's the exact same as yours. I think implicit in the question is what distinguishes a public member from any of the other representatives. And I think both Larry and Cliff, nailed it, that you're an unbiased, not to say that anyone on this commission is biased, but you don't answer to a constituency. You represent the general public. And I echo in particular Larry's sentiment that hopefully that frees you up a little bit to maybe ask hard questions or to provide a different perspective that might otherwise go unnoticed because of the challenges sometimes in changing hats. And it's really difficult. It's not like there's an X-ray machine at the door that says, are you wearing your supervisor hat or your council hat or your special district hat? And it's really difficult to divorce yourself from those different, sort of personalities or representations. And so hopefully that's, I don't serve on any other committees and have any other representative bodies. And so I think that all 3 of us are well equipped to do that. My availability, I think that I've demonstrated, a good track record of attendance, and especially lately serving on 2 subcommittees. I've made, I believe, all of those meetings and have demonstrated adequate availability and will continue to do so.
Okay, a little bit of interrogation to bring it home here. And I'm just reading this. Please give us a simple yes or no answer. And who are we starting out with?
Larry.
Okay, Larry. Are you presently a member of the governing board or employee of Marin County, any city or special district in Marin County? If yes, which one and what is your role?
No.
Do you claim Marin County as your primary residency?
Do I what?
Claim Marin County as your primary residency.
Sorry. Yes.
All right.
Same answers, no and yes.
Mike's.
Oh, excuse me, same answers, no and yes.
No and yes.
Well, I want to thank all three of you for, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
would you permit me to ask another question?
sure, yeah, if you want to, yeah, as long as you ask the same of all three.
All of you are professionals. Cliff, you mentioned an organization you were involved with in the Bay Area. And I was wondering if you could comment on any potential conflict of interest that you may have by being a LAFCo member because of some organization you belong to or your profession that you take part in.
So we'll start with Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. In the legal profession, there's always a possibility of a conflict of interest. Having served on LAFCo for coming up on, I think, 2 years now in April, give or take, I have not had a conflict of interest yet. I can fully disclose that this past year, someone did ask for legal services, and I declined the representation. And I hope that that demonstrates, my commitment to LAFCO. I can't guarantee that I'll decline at all in any representation in the future, but I felt like it put me in a compromising position, and I didn't want to be a part of it. So.
I've been in the office supply business since I was 11 years old, and I pride myself in having the best customers in the world. And currently, and when I've discussed this with staff, Marin LAFCo, thank you very much, has been a customer of mine, and I know that if I get named to this board, I will have to no longer be a vendor to LAFCO. And I think that'd be my only conflict coming up, because I'm not on anything else, so.
No, I'm not a member of anything really right now, so I'm free.
Anything else? No. Okay, well, I want to thank the three of you. I think we have a great pool of candidates. You're all very qualified and very different perspectives, so I really appreciate that variety. And I also wanted to commend all three of you for attending our strategic planning retreat and being involved enough to pay attention to those things and to attend meetings, so really appreciate that. I want to commend the three of you for that. So procedurally from here, Jason?
Procedurally from here, you would have a discussion amongst yourselves with, in the open mic session, and then someone at some point, I'm assuming, would make a motion to nominate one of the candidates for the full seat, and then there would be a vote on that. If that person didn't win, you would have more discussion, nominate someone else, and continue until you decided you picked someone or you couldn't find a common choice.
And then Mala, once we've done that, then we can decide which of the options we want to do, whether we want to appoint that person to, or does it need to be part of the motion?
It'd probably be better to pick the possible option with the candidate that you're selecting at the same time.
Okay. So the options are, we appoint someone to fill the remainder of the seat as well as the full 4-year term that starts in May. We could appoint two separate candidates for the remainder of the seat and for the full term. We could appoint a candidate to just fill the vacant term until May and then defer that decision to a later date. We could make no decision no decision regarding the vacant seat and appoint the 4-year, or we could do no decision on either. So does anyone have any further?
Yeah.
If you like, yes, go for it. And is there any public comment on this issue? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Commissioner Brown, do you have something?
Well, I was going to ask that we're not touching the alternate seat tonight?
You can't touch the alternate seat tonight because it's not open right now.
I got it.
All right, does anybody want to discuss or?
Start? I concur with the chair that we have three terrific alternatives. I'm going to cast my vote for Chris simply because I have seen him in action. He has a perverse enthusiasm for this arcane stuff. He's knowledgeable, dedicated, and committed, and I've been impressed with his service in the last 2 years on this commission. So that's the direction that I would go, and I would go not only for the balance of this term, but also for the 4 years. So alternative one would be my choice.
Anyone else have any thoughts?
Sure. First of all, concur with the quality of all of you as applicants. Thank you for stepping up. It was really good. Each of you brought a good perspective. We really couldn't go wrong, and I'm inclined to appoint someone for both the remainder and the newly starting term as well. For me, it's coming down to between Cliff and Chris. Chris, of course, because he has been serving and we've gotten a chance to get to know him, and clear enthusiasm there. Cliff, because of, I think, the range of background. I mean, really the local, so in a public member, and I think we can call you that, you've been sufficiently divorced from your elective service now with 10 years, it sounds like. But that having been said, the prior regional experience, local elected experience, I liked your responses in particular on accessible government, listening, efficient meetings, agencies working together. In other words, LAFCo is not kind of the force coming in and dictating per se. There are a lot of competing agency interests out there. Chris, again, your background also, you had Larry, great responses as well. I'm gonna, for argument's sake, lean toward Cliff right now, but I think I'm signaling there's certainly a couple possibilities here.
Dennis, Jack, Craig, anyone want to?
So I too want to thank all three candidates. In the past, what I've tried to do was, because we don't look like Marin very much on this board, I usually look for diversity and where that might play a role when all things are equal. Secondly, I look at geographical balance in the county. I'm not sure I have all that information tonight. I do know we're replacing someone who came from Mill Valley. Having said all that, we have the three of you who are well qualified before us tonight. I certainly have worked with Chris the last couple years, got to know him, known Cliff for quite a while. I've known Larry quite a while too, actually, from the sanitary board days, when you probably voted for me at one time or another to be special district member. So I'm a little bit conflicted. I would agree with Supervisor Connolly, or Commissioner Connolly tonight, that I would lean to Chris and Cliff. But I don't know if I, at this point, would have a preference. I'm willing to hear other discussion.
So I agree with the comments. Strong candidates. Appreciate everyone being here tonight and certainly attending the meetings, showing your interest. I was kind of scoring it by as each question went along, and it was incredibly pretty balanced. On the land use planning section, it seemed like Chris obviously has the skill set there. But then again, this is a public member, someone who's kind of connected with Marin, has a history in Marin, and perhaps because I've served with Larry, I know his nature in terms of cooperating and getting things, for instance, the recycled water program that he brought brought forward, we were at a kind of a disconnect with another district, MMWD, and now that's fully functional. It's moving forward. So there's been some good experiences. I did like Cliff's experience based on the Bay Area Council. So there's some unique things that we will deal with in LAFCo that aren't necessarily cut and dry. So I think those are all good skill sets to have. So kind of going forward, I think I'm kind of leaning really Larry and Chris, and coming from someone who is an alternate for a certain number of years and kind of serving in that capacity, and I think the former chair appreciated that as well. I like Chris's experience and certainly enthusiasm, but the other candidates with their experience base are very strong as well. So that's one.
Okay, yes, someone like Craig, I kind of lean towards Chris and Larry for different reasons. I mean, all three have got things to offer. Their experiences with different jurisdictions and quite a bit of knowledge in Marin. Chris has learned a lot in the last couple of years. To me, he sort of overanalyzes a few things that could be simpler, but he is an attorney, if you don't mind. I've got obviously a little bit of a bias being an engineer and looking at all the different jurisdictions and types of work that Larry has done over the years. And I think it's not critical to LAFCo, but all the jurisdictions he's worked for, they're different from ours in Marin, but I think that would be very helpful working here. I think I could support any of the three candidates, but I do kind of lean towards Chris and Larry for different reasons.
I, again, think that all three of you are terrifically qualified, and I'm really happy to be able to have this pool of candidates. I'm delighted that we have the choices that we have. I think, Chris, it's been great to see you step into Jeff's seat recently, and you're always here and prepared, and I really appreciate that. Larry, I appreciate your great depth of experience as an engineer and working on a special district, experience with contrast to LAFCo, and Cliff. Cliff, we've known each other a long time, and I appreciate what you bring to the table as far as having been on the council, having been the city alternate to LAFCo when you were on, and that you are bringing sort of more of a general public view, and so my preference would be for Cliff for that reason. He's bringing the view of not a planning person. I think that's something that's on when you look at planning commissions as well. You need to have your design professionals, and you need to have your general public member who really represents that point of view. So my preference would be for Cliff. So now that we've had our discussion here, somebody needs to make a motion, or we need to further break this down a little bit.
I mean, I guess I can make a motion for Cliff, see where we go.
Can I ask, already made a motion. If Lou should have an opportunity to make a comment?
Sure. Yes, please, Lou, please, we'd love to hear your comments.
Thanks, Dennis. I'm sitting over here feeling awfully lonely. Well, I think all of them have very good skills, very good backgrounds. They're all unique in their own ways. I've kind of been exposed to Cliff for a while because we're both Mill Valley residents and have spent a lot of time working with Mill Valley. Larry certainly no experience before, and Chris, in all of his glory, a lot of experience. I tend to think that experience is very valuable. Knowing how to interact with the commission and the process of the commission, I think is a very valuable thing and a valuable skill to have and to learn. And so I think from my standpoint, that experience puts Chris in a preferred position.
Okay, so I've made a motion to kick us off for option 1.
That did not work.
You need the.
Option 1, Cliff.
Do I have a second on that? Can I second?
You can second.
Okay, I will second that. All right. Any further discussion?
Yes, I have further discussion. So does it make, and submitted for consideration, does it make sense to figure out an option first and then a person to fit that option? Or do we want to keep it?
Part of my motion was option 1.
I understand.
So we just need to vote on that.
Okay. Withdraw my question.
Before we vote, if I could just, it might be very obvious, but this is for the full term position. We talked about alternate 1. I think Matt brought that forward, that it's filling the balance of the position of Chair Blanchfield and then fulfilling the next 4-year term as a full member. Now, of course, there's always the alternate member position that we look at too, and that's also a method of serving. But again, as I've served before, Kios is serving currently. That's something also to consider and certainly encourage. So if you don't receive a placement as a full member, then that's something to consider as well.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, so how should we do this? Should we just do a regular voice vote? Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Oh, you want to do a roll call?
Roll call. Let's do roll call. Go ahead, Candace.
Sashi,
Aye.
sorry. Craig K. Murray,
Nay.
Sloan Bailey is, how do I say it? Jack Baker,
Nay.
Damon Conley,
Aye.
Dennis Rardoni,
Aye.
Chris Skelton is,
You can't vote.
he's out.
Do you need to call Matt Brown for Sloan's seat?
Okay, Matt Brown,
No.
okay.
We do not have, right, that's not enough. Okay. All right, would anyone like to try again?
I would like to try again. I would nominate for the option 1, Chris Skelton.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, Candace?
Sashi McEntee,
Nay.
Craig K. Murray,
Aye.
Matt Brown,
Aye.
Jack Baker,
Aye.
Damon Conley,
Nay.
Dennis Rardoni,
Nay.
Do we?
Motion fails.
Okay.
both
All right.
failed.
All righty. So,
Well, let's try Larry.
The unknown going in.
I'll move Lawrence Lauder and option 1.
I'll second.
okay. Candace?
Let's try this again. Need a new piece of paper. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Sashi McEntee,
Nay.
Craig K. Murray,
Aye.
Matt Brown,
No.
Jack Baker,
Aye.
Damon Conley,
Aye.
Dennis Conley, sorry, Dennis Rardoni,
Aye.
and that's it. So it's 4-2.
4-2 with 1 from each category.
Oh, there was?
Yep.
Is there one from each category?
No.
No, wait, no, I'm sorry. The cities did not vote to do it.
Ready?
So no one gets selected.
Oh,
So you have an impasse.
Because you choose the.
Yeah, the 2 cities are the
That's you to break the
Each one of us failed to get a category.
Yep.
So, we're What do you suggest here?
It seems like number 5, which is make no decision today, on either the current vacant seat or the full 4-year term, and make a determination at a future meeting. I'm not sure what would change, but.
So, Mala, at this point, Chris is acting as interim full member. He would continue to serve the balance of the term until the full vacancy in April if we cannot come to a decision. Is that correct?
He's still the alternate member, but he would be a voting member since you haven't filled the 4-year term.
And the alternate will continue to serve in that role until you fill the seat. So let's just say you come in at impasse and the regular seat comes up and you still can't fill that seat. Chris stays in that seat until such time as he's no longer the alternate. So he has at least another 2 years of being the alternate.
Okay, and does anyone want to try one more time, or are we, is everybody pretty clear where they are? For now?
I'd be willing to try one more option.
Mike.
Sorry. I remember his, I can't remember mine. I'd be willing to try one more option, and that is to nominate Chris to fill the remainder of the vacant term and defer a decision on the first full 4 year to a later date.
Yeah, I don't want to get in the middle of decision making here, but I would say this: if you're going to put Chris into the regular seat, that means he gives up his alternate seat, which means come May, you don't have an alternate anymore, and that seat expires, and therefore then you really don't have anyone from the public filling either seat.
What I was thinking, though, it would give us the option of having a panel of applicants and have both the full seat and the alternate seat available at the same time.
We would still have to go out and notice that there's an alternate seat vacancy. We could do that for the next meeting. I mean, there's definitely time within our notification period to do that. But you are potentially opening up the fact that you would have no one in a seat if no decision could be made for either seat. You're welcome to do that. I just want to make sure you're aware that you're opening it up to a vacant seat at some point in the future.
Does anyone want to second Commissioner Rodoni, or is there any discussion? No? Okay. No second? All right. So it looks like we are at an impasse, and we are going to defer to a future meeting. Okay.
Do you want us to bring that back at a future meeting?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, naturally occurring, the April meeting would be when we would have the full 4-year term for Jeff's seat naturally coming up for a decision. So we can, I guess the question is, do we reopen and renotice the public seat, or are we going to continue to saying the public seat is here, here's our applicants, and you'll have more discussion, more time to think about it, and just come back at the next meetings? Or trying to find out what you want from staff to do at this point.
Is anyone in favor of giving additional notice and seeing if there are any additional candidates? No.
Okay.
Is anyone opposed to that? No? Okay.
I wouldn't mind asking the candidates if they have any thoughts about the process. Does someone want to change their mind about their commitment to this post?
Well, Mala, I don't know whether that's. It seems.
You know what? Let me bring up a story. That there was a period of time, I read about it in the newspaper, I was not there, so this is hearsay, where the Marin Community Foundation was down to the wire on 2 candidates. And one of the candidates says, you know what? You can't lose with either one. I'm stepping away. Please. And if there's an opportunity for someone to be so magnanimous tonight, then we might have a different vote. That's a suggestion.
Northern water flipped the coin. You see a 3-sided coin.
Mala, what are your thoughts on that?
If anyone wants to answer, I'm not sure. There is a change, but if they do, that's.
Does anyone have anything to say?
you guys probably know by now, I can't give up a opportunity to say something. I would encourage the commission to make a decision tonight. And I think you've heard from the applicants. I believe that these are the three, very well qualified applicants. And even if you open the pool back up, my hope would be that one of us three would be selected. I think that you've seen all of our faces at a variety of meetings, which evidences our interest in this position. I would be disappointed if you didn't make a decision tonight, because these two have given up their Valentine's Day to appear tonight. I did it because, the commission and my commitment, but it feels really unfortunate if a decision isn't made. And I think Cliff is the one that said, what his goal is here. And Larry, I think, echoed it too. It's about problem solving. It's about bringing people together. And, we collectively, I'll speak on behalf of them, want you guys to come together and to make a compromise. I don't think you can go wrong. For my own personal interest, I served as the alternate, like Craig said, and so I would like the opportunity to serve as the public member, and I would hope that one of these two would apply again to serve as the alternate and see where that goes. But I'm not going to campaign any further. I really hope that you guys can deliberate for another 5 minutes if that's what it takes and come to a decision now, at least for these two guys.
Larry and Cliff, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
About what he said, or?
Well, since we're giving Chris the opportunity to speak again, I think each of you are welcome to speak again for a couple minutes.
I was under the impression that tonight's meeting, that a commissioner would be picked and an alternate would be picked. So that's my confusion coming in here, because I don't, as a habit, I don't apply to things where there's an incumbent and that's in place, unless that incumbent's doing a bad job or something. I kind of came here thinking, they pick me, great. If they pick, the person who's put their time in as the alternate, I respect that, and I don't want to make, I totally agree with what everybody here said, so it's not like anybody's, you guys are wrong, you guys are all right here, but, with respect to the commission and respect for not having, the commission being they couldn't make up their mind, and, I would, and, I like making friends, I don't want to, and in terms of, I would love to be on this board here, and there's other people that have been on the board here that are continuing, that want to continue to be on the board, and I'm sure that, as time goes on, they'll get better on the board, and so I can't say I'm happy to do it, but it's not like it pains me to do it. But, if you've had an alternate that has paid his dues, I believe in paying the dues. I mean, you've all paid your alternate dues, that, I would, I don't want to drop out, but I'm just saying, I'll still love you all if you pick somebody else. So,
Larry, anything to add?
Well, I might say that.
Would you add it at the mic, please?
I want to thank you for listening to me. I have been out of this kind of a situation for a number of years. I mean, as you know, I put together all the things that I had done, and that was a long time ago, really. And I've been retired now 20 years. So I thought, I don't want to redo a discussion here, but I don't quite understand. Is there an alternative that one of us is an alternate and then can go on? Is that what?
No, it's the fact that Chris is currently the alternate, so if Chris is selected, then he would vacate the alternate position, and then we would later have to fill the alternate position. So it's really just because the alternate is in contention for the position. So right now, we're just deciding on the public member, and we are not, the alternate position is not.
It's not public?
It's not available, yeah. Yet.
So I don't really have much more to say. Appreciate you just listening to me. I thought I could get back in maybe a little bit, but it's really up to you guys. And I'm happy with whatever you do.
Thank you. All right, guys, any further comments?
Just, can we get a summary of the votes without, you have to have one city, one county, one special district vote. Can we get a summary of the total votes? And then we heard from Lou in terms of advisory. That might be of interest. Candace, do you have that for us?
Good question.
Give her just 1 second there so she
Yeah.
can make sure she gets the correct stuff in.
I have it if you want. It was 3-3 for Cliff, 3-3 for me, 4-2 for Larry. Cliff was missing the special district. I was missing the board, and Larry was missing the city or town, city.
This would seem to me to be a little out of order. If you're going to follow the processes, what you're trying to do, this would seem to be a little out of order.
Yes. Sorry.
That's pretty good. Right.
That did summarize it correctly.
Yep, and Lou is also correct. All right, so does anyone on the commission want to take another run at it, or shall we close this item? Do we want to take a 5-minute break and come back, or do we? We're running out of possibilities. All right. Okay. So I think we're at an impasse. All right.
So are we bringing this back?
We have to bring it back next month, right? Yeah.
At this,
Next meeting.
yeah, at this point, what you'd be doing is you'd basically be bringing back the full term seat back, and the alternate seat will just die because it will end its term without having the ability to really appoint someone in by the end of it.
Not the alternate.
No.
I mean, the interim vacant seat will just die on the vine, and the full seat will come back in April.
Does that need to be moved and seconded and voted on?
Yes, you should do option 5 if that's what you're doing.
I'd like to move possibility number 5. We'll make this decision at another date,
At the April meeting.
at the April meeting.
Okay. A second?
Second.
Made by Commissioner Brown, seconded by Commissioner Connolly. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you for your patience, gentlemen. Hopefully we'll see you again next month. In 2 months.
Yes, staff question on this. Do you want us to have them come back to the next meeting? Or since they've already answered question, do you want to have come up with a new set of questions? Like just trying to get from a staff perspective, what you're looking to have happen at the April meeting?
I think they're welcome to come. We don't need to require them to come. I don't think we need to re-interview them unless the commission wants to. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
My inclination is to also that we should consider this to be kind of a do-over and that we should advertise for it again. Does anyone have any objection to that?
Not a strong one. It's just an exercise, more interviews. But
If we get any others, then we can. address that at that point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Okay. All right.
The next item.
Okay, so moving on to item 6, the Budget and Work Plan Committee report. Jason?
Sure, I will always yield to the chair of the committee if they wish to make any comments first.
Just to say that the committee met and we've reviewed the information that Jason is presenting. We're trying to simplify the budget process and clean up some of the things that basically just can be combined. So I'll let Jason actually explain that, but that's the budget's review.
Thank you.
Review.
Thank you, Chair of the Budget Committee. So what we have in front of you today is a rethinking of how we do our budget. Our budget for a long time was within the county system, and the county system, pretty much you have a ton of different line items that you have to have. For the most part, I almost want to say for every contract you have a line item that is separate from any other line item. And that's really not needed anymore. We now use QuickBooks. We're out of the county system. The only part of us that's still in the county system for now is our HR system and our money collection system, which money collection is a completely different issue from the expenditure side and isn't really a line item other than it's this one large sum of money that we have in there. So what I wanted to do was re-envision how we look at our budget and really shrink our line items down. What is in the packet is the line items that we've used over the last 3 years. There are a ton of more line items we actually have because they all got imported from the county system into QuickBooks. And if they weren't used in the last 3 years, I guarantee you we probably really don't need to use them ever again. So I want to eliminate all of those altogether and then take the current line items that we have and shrink those down to things like you'll see color coded in the packet. You'll see like all the blue. That's all the different ways that you pay for salaries. We track vacation time. We track holiday time. The county does it, which is great, but it's not needed from a high level budget perspective. We don't need to worry about what line, like were we paying, like did I work 72 hours of work time and 8 hours of holiday time in a pay period? Not really relevant for the overall budget. What's really relevant for the budget is how much are we paying in salaries? And that encompasses all those line items that are salaries. So take all those, merge those into one line item within our budget. And when we get stuff from the county, we'll still get it with those breakdowns. So if someone's really interested, we can get you that information. But most people aren't interested in how much those individual lines are. They're just curious, how much are we paying staff to do for their salaries? Similar thing in benefits. You know, we can have a discussion about, well, there's vision and there's health and there's a whole bunch more line items that are in the benefits category. Instead of just having us look at each one individually, let's look at all those together as well. Pension similar, depending on when you started working within the MSERA system, you are in a different tier and each tier has its own line item. Once again, important for us to understand from like when we're doing our budget, how it works, but from a budget line item perspective, it's all the same. It doesn't really matter whether Candace has one type of MSERA and I'm in a different category. We pay the same, we pay to MSERA what we pay to MSERA. And so that is one line item because we're paying that one line item to MSERA for retirement. And then for professional services, we've kind of had a lot of the professional services have gone away. Those are a lot of the contracts that we haven't even used in the last 3 years, but there are a few of them that have kind of been in existence. Some of the big ones, the professional services is the big one. But then you have the two other red categories, or brownish, depending on if you're colorblind or not, that are there as well. And I know it's a little hard to see on actually, let me see if I can zoom in on that section there, fit to width, and then so you have professional services, graphic design, which is really our Civics Plus contract. That's the only thing that's in the graphic design center. And then support services, which are these random small little things here or there. They're all professional services at the end of the day. So I would want to take all of those and merge those into professional services. And what you will see when I'm doing the budget, you will actually, for professional services, I will purposely call out and say, here are the various things that professional services is covering. It's covering our auditor, our bookkeeper, our Plan West partners for the MSR work that they're doing, It covers a few different categories like that. And I will put in my staff memo what those categories, who those people are, what the services are, at least that we're getting provided. So you're not going to be blind by, oh, well, this is a huge category. This is one of the discussions we actually had at the budget committee of making sure people are aware, here's everything that is in the professional services area, because that is a large number of groups. Not the biggest part of our budget, but it is the largest number of individual things that get paid to that one thing. And currently we have multiple people in professional services. We Plan West, Nelson HR, which is how we got Vita services, bookkeeper, auditors, I've already mentioned, all already in professional services. So I'm just trying to make it so it's simpler and tighter and easier for us to follow. And then you have this mapping services. This is something we paid to the county $180 3 years ago, barely made it into our stuff. Yes?
Is that Marin Map?
No. Marin Map is a completely different thing. I think that goes in the support services one, but I'll have to double check which category Marin Map is.
What is the mapping services?
Mapping service, we 3 years ago, I wasn't here, but I think what we used to do occasionally is if we needed an individual map for a parcel that we were doing an application for, we would go to the county and say, can you provide us the official maps? Because we don't have the engineering survey people on our staff. We would ask them to do it, I think is what that category fell into.
That's not Marin Map.
That's not Marin Map.
Because it was only 3 years ago, one time.
But for some reason, they requested.
Yeah, it probably was some sort of applicant who came to us and we paid for that service as part of the application. They probably paid us and then we paid the county to do the professional surveying stuff. Marin Maps is not, we cannot take Marin Maps and send that map to the Board of Equalization. There's actually an official.
They're not survey maps.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think that's what we were using. But like I said, that was 3 years ago and I really don't know the details behind it. It might have been also for an MSR that we were doing at the time as well. We may have asked them to do some mapping stuff for us for that.
So to clarify, this is what you're proposing, closing up these categories is just for the budget, but the backup for all the level of detail is still available and
Yes.
it could be
Like,
presented.
when you
And would
get
be
the-
in the staff memo, yeah.
Correct. Like when you'll get in staff memo with professional services, but when we also do our, every meeting, you see all the checks that we wrote. So you would see, here's all the checks we wrote for professional services because it's ID'd, I believe, in the system that I present to you today. So you'll still know what's there. It's just a matter of simplifying our budget process and making it a little bit easier to do it instead of having a whole bunch of line items. And then oopsie, wrong way. And then these final ones down here that are all white, those will stay their own individual categories. I think they are separate enough and different enough that they deserve their own stuff. But even here, like communication services, that's mostly for Comcast, for our internet phone, and for Marin Mac Tech to do our IT tech stuff. So even some of our other stuff already has some of those things merged together as is.
And this is just an information item, Jason, or are you asking?
Yes,
for-
this is just an informational item. Unless I heard someone give a major objection to us doing this, this is how we're going to be moving the budget forward. The budget committee, as the chair already mentioned, is supportive of this concept, but I wanted to present it today just so you're aware, not catching it for the first time when I present the budget at the next meeting. So,
Any other comments or questions? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, close the public comment. Okay. Next item.
the next item is the legislative committee report. Unfortunately, our legislative committee chair couldn't be at the last meeting and our vice chair filled in. Would the vice chair like to say anything?
Probably the biggest thing I would say is that we try to focus on what would be effective. You know, there were some guidelines already established by Cal LAFCo. We were trying to reinvent the wheel. We took the Cal LAFCo guidelines for evaluating and recommending positions on legislation that was coming up and tried to make sure that that met our needs and tweaked it a very little bit to make it more effective for us. And that was the point of the discussion, and that the result of the first grading part can be seen in the evaluation of the two specific pieces of legislation that were also described. The items in red is the addition that we thought we would put in there so you could quickly get an idea of what the basic position would be, the priority, and our attitude toward that legislation. So again, it was to make the whole process of analyzing legislation be more effective and more usable.
Lou, what's the difference between neutral and no position?
I'll take that. So in Sacramento, there are, all the categories that you see in the packet are official. When you write a letter, you are putting one of those things on the thing. The question was neutral and?
No position.
No position. Neutral is normally when you've taken a position and you've then changed your position during the process. Normally, like you're opposed unless amended, they amend it, so then you become neutral. No position means we're not going to make a position on it. Normally, most people don't do no positions. No position is kind of when, for Cal LAFCo's purposes at least, tends to be we came to an impasse, kind of like you just did with the public seat. You couldn't come to a conclusion, no one could, the group couldn't agree to it, and therefore we're not going to take a position on it. For us personally, we're probably not going to take a no position on anything because it's just not worth our time or energy, but it is an official position that's used in Sacramento, so I wanted to make sure that we included that in our policies in case the day came where there was that exception to the rule and we decided to do that.
And are we voting on this, or is this?
Yes, I would like to have you vote on this. This would then be added to the policy handbook, and the policy committee could figure out the best place to locate it within the book.
My question is, we know what the legislative calendar is. Are we able to kind of schedule things or schedule committee meetings so that we can take action when we need to take action, or because there's a time-sensitive situations, and then we'd have to take a position with the concurrence of the legislative committee chair or vice chair?
Yeah. Most of the stuff we will do, we will be able to do ahead of time. But what ends up happening is you will end up having, when bills actually get what I call active at Sacramento, they will have a hearing one day, get amended, go to the next committee the next day, get amended, go to another committee the following day, get amended. At that point, there is no possibility for us to really have a way. The time sensitive is really for those sections where that occurs. And in some cases, and I've not had this occur on LAFCo stuff, but in San Francisco, I worked a lot on the clean energy stuff, the CCA activities. And there was actually one time where a bill was about taxes one day, and the next day it became about CCAs.
Yeah, gut and amend, yeah.
Yeah, the gut and amend stuff. So we need to have the flexibility in those cases for the time-sensitive stuff to be able to jump and react immediately, and the committees just don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah, I'd want to make sure that the general position of the commission was clear, so that when it becomes a moving target, that the legislative committee could make a decision without having to sort of de novo come up with some position that the commission has never heard of.
My hope would be that would be the case. The time sensitive is when it's the gut and amend, that weird stuff that occurs in Sacramento. That's the only time I actually anticipate time sensitive being used if we're paying attention to the calendar. One of the things to keep in mind is I envision us for the most part, there's one item that's in there of the 7 options that I said are in Sacramento. I want to be very clear. Option number 7 is not actually a Sacramento thing. That's more of a Marin LAFCo thing, so we can align ourselves with Cal LAFCo. Most bills that we're going to be dealing with probably aren't going to have a direct impact on Marin LAFCo, but we want to be supportive of Cal LAFCo and all of our other LAFCo agencies across the entire state. So position number 7 is more whatever Cal LAFCo does, and as they're going through that gut and amend and all those processes, we will just mirror them on any bill that is brought to us first. I mean, clearly if they take a position and we haven't done it yet, we won't mirror them. But where we've taken the align with Cal LAFCo position, we would then, as they change their position going through the process, we would automatically change ours because it doesn't directly impact us, but like I said, it can be helpful for our sister agencies out there.
Excuse me, I might have missed part of what you were just explaining, but might there be times that we are quite in alignment with Cal LAFCo? There's some slight variation between their goals and some of our colleagues, but it doesn't fit, this Marin County perhaps.
That is very possible, and in those cases, we would not take an align with Cal LAFCo position. We would take our own position at that point.
You kind of gave me the impression, at least, that we always want to be in alignment.
No. We would not always be in alignment. It's only when we agree to be in alignment with them that we would be.
Okay.
So we take each bill individually.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions from the commission?
So I heard there's 1,400 bills that are going to be introduced by next Friday. Do you know how many are LAFCO related of those 1,400?
Right now, as of at least January 31st, only 2 of them have been identified by Cal LAFCo. But the problem that you have with those 1,400 bills, a good portion of them are what's referred to as spot bills. They actually don't say or do anything right now. And when the committees, that process really kicks up and bills become active, that's when you all of a sudden learn that what they're really talking about is not a tax bill, it's about clean energy or some completely different matter. So no clue how many there will end up being, but we will keep track of it. And as Cal LAFCo updates us, I will update the Ledge Committee and, time permitting, update the full commission at the same time. So that's 7A. We have 7A and 7B, but I wanted to handle them differently because we kind of need 7A before we can do 7B.
Okay. Any public comment on this? Seeing none, close public comment. Entertain a motion on this?
I make a motion to approve staff recommendation number 1, approve the attached policy with the, just to approve the attached policy.
Second on that?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Skelton, seconded by Commissioner Rodoni. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And then on to the position on AB 213 and SB 99.
Yes.
And AB 213 is the one that the league is behind, right?
Correct.
With Cal LAFCo, yeah. I was interested to see that that was a watch and not a support.
Yeah, I'll get into why that's a watch in a second. So you have two bills, AB 213 and SB 99, that Cal LAFCo has taken a position on. And they have taken a watch on both of them. For 213, just gets into a little bit of backyard playing of between different groups. The League of Cities is very much in support of this bill. For full disclosure, Chair McEntee did ask that we take the same position as the League of Cities. Cal LAFCo has taken a watch position because they are still a little frustrated with the League of Cities over a different bill that the League of Cities refused to support that Cal LAFCo really wanted around some funding mechanisms for grants that LAFCOs could apply for. League of Cities didn't take a position on it last year. We're still trying to, from what I understand, Cal LAFCO is potentially going to go back and try and get that bill again this year. But they were trying to hope to, I think, negotiate something between the two sides. And so we, the legislative committee, decided to take a watch position on it or take the alignment with Cal LAFCO position. And hopefully at some point, Cal LAFCO and League of Cities will get together and figure out how to resolve their issues. And there'll be support for both of them.
Yeah, I'm on the League of Cities Revenue Taxation Policy Committee, and the league presented at the meeting, AB 213 as this is what we are jointly doing with Cal LAFCO, and Cal LAFCO is behind it. So I was very surprised to see the watch when that was what we were told in the league, was that Cal LAFCO was behind it. So it's interesting to note. And the background of this is that if all of you are familiar with the triple flip of the taxes, that there was the money that came from the cities and counties that backfilled the education money, that was backfilled by BLF. I might have gotten that out of order, but there were 3 pots and they moved around, and that was the triple flip. And in crafting that, they set it up so that you didn't get your BLF in lieu money for an annexation or a new city incorporation. So it made it so that it didn't make financial sense to do an annexation or an incorporation. So that last year, for cities in Riverside County, there was a special bill to fix it just for those 4, and that was intended to be kind of okay, well, let's do it for these 4, and then we'll do it for the rest of the state. And that was, I believe, the intention of this bill and maybe its predecessor. So in theory, that this should be something that should work for us, but the devil is always in the details here.
So if there's no other questions on that bill, I'll present the other bill. SB 99 is a spot bill right now, so we don't really know exactly what it's about, but it has something to do at the present time on the Williamson Act, and as a county that has Williamson Act properties, we should definitely be paying attention to this bill. The committee took a line with Cal LAFCO for now, mainly because who knows when this we'll find out what the spot bill is, maybe a last minute thing. I will be keeping an eye on it as a Williamson Act county. We will definitely keep an eye on this, and if something goes weird and we need to take a separate position, I will definitely alert the legislative committee and the full body at that point. But for now, I think it's a good watch one just to see what they end up doing with it. It may end up being something simple and cleaning up language around the Williamson Act, or it may end up being something that's very specific to a particular county that doesn't impact us. Just don't know yet.
Question?
Yes.
Since you know, Marin is one of the Williamson Act counties, how, through the state, are the vast majority, or only half, or how many are Williamson Act?
I am not sure. From what I understand, it's mostly only counties that are rural in nature, and Marin kind of teeters on that, where there's we have some rural and we have some not. So Williamson Act tends to mostly be just rural, but I don't know how many counties actually have Williamson Act land in it. That's an interesting question.
You get a chance sometime, maybe just roughly even.
Okay.
I just assume that most of the state have got areas far more rural than we have, and so that most of the counties, so I assume, did have that effective.
I'll put a email out to the listserv and see if any other counties reply back that they are.
Any public comment on this? Seeing none, close public comment. We'll bring it back to the commission. We want to make a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. This is approval of Marin LAFCo position on AB 213 and SB 99.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Murray. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Carries. All right, moving on to the policy committee.
Does the chair wish to make any comments first?
Yes. We started out by just wanting to kind of clean it up, and then realized that we kind of needed to take it to a level. Okay, so that's me, Damon, and Sloan. Just looking at it, the policy handbook, our policy handbook is way bigger than is typical, and we kind of came down to the sort of the principle that our policy handbook should, since all LAFCOs reflect local conditions, our policy handbook should not merely regurgitate what's in the code, but should indicate what our particular flavor of that code is. So I actually went in and really did a extensive edit and took out any section of the policy handbook that merely repeated what was in the code. And there was a lot of that. So I mean, it went from 95 pages to 50 pages. And then kind of tightened it up as well. So we as it says in the report, we try to keep it to what's our particular flavor, and then also Mala had recommended that we take out the personnel rules that we put in there at the end and have that be a separate document. So when we need to make sure with you that in so doing that we don't that it still remains in place. So that was it, and that we should really do a comprehensive review every 5 years or so to maintain the standards was our other thing. But really, whenever you all have a chance to take a look at it, because we're going to in the next round have you approve it. The specific kind of our flavor of things is really chapters 4 and 5. The 1 through 3 are more kind of procedural things. So I would actually be really interested kind of maybe at another time for us to really kind of dive into chapter 4 and chapter 5 and make sure that we all still agree on those policies. Because I think there are some things that are in there that maybe current members don't realize that we've kind of taken a position about. Like, for example, your comment earlier about, well, we've always kind of done this in this way. Some of those things are reflected in our policy handbook and some of them are not. So it was basically impossible to do a track changes on it because it was such an extensive cut. But Jason is going to put together a kind of an index of these are the topics. This was the section that it was in the previous one, and this is the section that it's in now, in case people are remembering the previous language. But there was no change in the substance of it, but it was just kind of pulling it together. And this was this became kind of this took over my life for a couple of weeks. Yeah. It was very satisfying, though. So hopefully, when you all get a chance to look at it, and like I said, the first 3 chapters are really procedural, and chapter 4 and chapter 5 are really kind of the meat of it on our policies, and really kind of be interested in to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I will just quickly add, I want to thank the chair for all of her work. It really was a Herculean effort that she took on to redo this. She did it a lot quicker than I would have ever been able to do it with all the other things I've got going on. So I wanted to say thank you for that. This is an informational only item tonight. It's more just to give you a flavor of what we're doing. If for some reason someone really wanted to object to how we were going about, how the committee was going about it, tonight would be a good night to do it because we still have more work to do on this. And I would hate to spend a lot more time and then come back to a future meeting saying, nope, we hate it, don't do this, go back to the original version. So I don't expect that to happen, but just wanted to make that comment.
I firmly believe, and I think everybody here agrees, that the policy handbook should reflect what we actually do. If there's something in there that we routinely ignore, we should take it out. We should change it. We should change what we do. Our practices should reflect what's in the handbook. And if everybody's kind of in agreement with that, that's how we're going to proceed. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, close the public comment. This was information item. Any other questions? No. All right. Moving on. Public and technical.
I don't think that we've actually had a meeting of the public and technical since the last meeting, so I don't know if the chair wants to say anything, but I do have some comments. This has been dealing with the website, mainly has been focused on the website stuff that we've been working on. We did have our bidders conference. We did put out the RFQ. Today we had our bidders conference where they could come in, ask us questions. We had 4 different firms represented today. So there is some interest out there in helping us figure it out. I mean, I definitely think there are a lot of questions as to exactly what we want, and unfortunately, we're not 100% sure exactly what we want, other than something that maybe is a little bit better than what we have today and is really cheap. And that's, of course, a conflict of how website development gets done. So we will see how the bids come in, and the goal is to present at the April meeting. Should we get good bids in and give us good options, to come back at the April meeting and present to the body some suggestions of how to move forward.
At the risk of nitpicking, these are not bids, right? These are professional service proposals. They're not bids, like they're painting the building or building a tangible product.
Yeah, you could call them different things, but yes.
Well, yeah, but they're just, in my own past life, it's the confusion.
Okay.
Some people, they're not, so you don't have to pick the lowest bidder.
Correct. We are not required to pick the lowest.
So they're not bids.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's all I have on the update on the website RFQ and that committee's work.
Any other questions? No? Great. We have really been rolling on the committee report, so I'm really happy to see that, and we've been doing a lot of good work here, so thank you to everybody for showing up to all those meetings. Okay, executive officer report.
I'll try and roll through these as quickly as I possibly can. You have your budget update. We're in pretty good shape. If we continue down this path, we will remain under budget for the year, which is going to be a good thing for us. One of the things to keep in mind is we are in the process, as you'll get in the future update, new staff hire. So the percentage of that we are under budget will not be the same by the time we get to the end of the fiscal year, because we should have a new staff person on board, and that will eat up some portion of the budget. So I don't want people to think, oh, we're gonna have this huge amount. It will shrink the amount that we have left over once we have that staff person on board. I'm gonna roll through these unless I see someone's hand go up for a question. For current pending proposals, you have what's in front of you. There's a few additional items I wanted to add to this. Murray Park and the Ross Valley merger item. We had a slowdown in that process for a bit, which recently just picked up. We have a new general manager for Ross Valley, and we also, the person who is overseeing the Murray Park stuff for the county retired at the end of the year, and a new person just started January 2nd. And so I've now sat down with both of them. We now have a meeting scheduled, I believe, for March 1st between the new person in charge of Murray Park Sanitary District and Ross Valley and myself to go over final details. There's definitely excitement by both sides to have this occur. There's still some technical details that need to be worked out. So we're continuing to go down that path. We have slowed down the San Quentin Village merger with Ross Valley. There are some issues more in-depth issues that need to be dealt with there. And so we decided to more focus on Murray Park for now, while Ross Valley looks at some issues that they need to address around the San Clemente Village item. Yes.
As indicated by Eric Stager when he was at our meeting, maybe on October 2nd. I'm sorry. Eric Stager, who came here previously, the county, no matter who the person is there, are very anxious to make this happen. San Quentin Village, Murray Park, either or both. It won't change. They've been trying for decades to move this ahead.
Correct.
And I can understand you now that you've got a new person at the county and a new chief down there at Ross Valley that want to make sure everybody's on the same page and stuff.
Correct.
Okay, but hopefully there's no glitches.
No, there's no, the only glitch was you just had replacement of the leadership of
Yeah,
both groups.
yeah.
And
Thank you.
so you just need to get the new people up to speed as to what was going on with it. And now that we've got them up to speed, we're now moving forward. I would anticipate some point in March of us actually having a meeting with community leaders from the Murray Park area to kind of present to them what's going on and get their feedback on what it is to make sure that they're fully on board with what we're doing as well. Because the last thing we want to do is move forward, forget to talk to them, and then while we're doing it, someone decides to protest and we end up not getting the merger because of a protest. So we do have a plan to move that forward. The next one I wanted to bring up is, you might remember I talked about a certain application 1328 where they never finished their process with the district. There was an outstanding one. It failed to go through its process last February. They're still connected to the sanitary district, and we are going through the process now of requesting that the sanitary district disconnect them unless they come back to and complete the process as they were supposed to. The applicant in that case has just been completely silent for the most part with us and with the district, and so we're just going to continue down that same path.
Where's the location of that?
I knew you were going to ask me that question. It is San Rafael Sanitary District. I don't remember.
Yeah. San Rafael Sanitation, but the location is Country Club area?
No. 255 Margarita.
Yeah, that's okay.
Is that over in Country? Okay.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Country Club. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, so it's over in the Country Club
I
area.
think I know the party, and they're very difficult to deal with.
Yes, and so we are continuing down that path. The final one for this is, just so you're aware, today we received an emergency application for out of service. We have a failing septic tank. It is currently leaking into the neighboring creek. The people, when they were doing a test on it, noticed it. The person that was doing the test for the applicant noticed it. They self-reported to the county. They came in today with an application to do it. The chair has approved that emergency service because it needs to get out and stop dumping into the creek, so we need to get them connected into the sewer system. That approval was conditioned on all of the engineering, and everything still needs to be completed for that the sanitary district, this is another San Rafael sanitary district one, by the way, that the sanitary district signs off on the engineering that they're looking to do, and that this will become a permanent connection, not just a temporary to get off the septic tank for now, but the applicant is fully aware that this will become a permanent connection. So I would anticipate coming at a future meeting that we will come back with the full application. The Marin Policy Handbook allows the chair to make approvals of these types of situations. Because we got it today, there's no way to put it on today's agenda. So the chair made that decision and based on my recommendation. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. We are required to report to the commission when these things occur, so I'm reporting it now tonight.
Would that meet the standard that it's within 400 feet of existing sewer line?
Yes, the sewer line actually runs right in front of the driveway of the house, and it's a gravity-driven, from what they think, it's a gravity-driven system that will go into it. So.
By the way, that's the policy of the county.
Yes.
It requires anyone to join a
Correct.
sanitary system, is that they have to be within 400 feet of the main.
Okay.
Well, and so since it was a health and safety emergency approval, then does that then come to the next meeting for ratification by the full commission? Is that in our policies?
Our policies simply state we have to, I believe, notify the commission that it occurred. I don't believe it actually has to come back for commission approval.
Okay.
But we will double check that, and if it does need to come back, we will make sure it
And
comes
that would
back.
be, that's just based on our policy, no statute? Okay.
You could bring it back as an informational item, just
Yeah.
because it's so rare. At least
Yeah, I mean, what will likely end up happening, hopefully, is we will actually have the actual application to connect into the district at the next meeting. There's some engineering stuff that needs to go around it any which way, which they're doing right now. So my hope is we actually have an application for it before you, and I will let you know that, hey, this is the application we did the emergency connection for. So I would be shocked if you will get this back at some point, whether it's the next meeting or the meeting after, it will be coming back here. Yes.
So all LAFCo policies, dual annexation policy, Dennis mentioned within 400 feet of a sewer lateral line must connect. These are all being followed, particularly the dual annexation policy.
I believe that this parcel is already in, maybe not. Yeah, they're already in the city. So it's not an issue of the dual annexation stuff, but we did check. It's just been a property that's been on a septic tank for a very long time. And when we did all of our boundaries in Marin County, from what I can tell, at least especially for sewer districts, if you were on a septic tank, you were never put in the district. You were put in their sphere of influence, but not in the district. And that's just how every sanitary district that we have, if areas that were septic tank in the old days, you only get put into the district when you physically go off your septic tank and connect to the sewer line.
Is that going to be noted in the Plan West MSR? Would you ask them to kind of comment on that overall, since this is coming up a lot?
Well, they're not doing sanitary districts in and of itself. They're doing cities, but we can make sure of a way to note that somehow.
In the San Rafael Regional MSR, it's not?
We did the sanitary districts as part of
Because we already did that.
Because we
right.
did that at Central Marin. So they're looking at the sanitary districts from like they exist and we need to understand them. So we could probably figure out a way to make that note in there.
Yeah, just to note that.
Okay. I will give them that note.
So just to clarify, the request is to identify those unconnected systems within incorporated areas? Is that?
To indicate what you were saying that you believe that the policy was that if they're in the city of San Rafael, but they're connected to septic, that they are that those that are connected to septic are only in the sphere of influence of the sanitary district and not.
Every sample I've seen so far, that's been the case. So I can't say for 100% certainty, but it seems like that's the way the maps were drawn when we did the spheres of influence, or the last time we did sphere changes for the sanitary districts. It seems to me like you did this big area, and that there's what I call the checkerboarding effect, where you got one parcel that's in, one parcel that's out, and this is basically purely on who has built on their property recently and who hasn't.
And that's the policy and how it's adopted in the Southern Marin districts.
Yeah.
It is. For Mill Valley and up along Panoramic, those properties up there, it's the way they handle it. That's the way they handle it along Panoramic. So the Southern Marin districts are just like Jason described.
Okay.
All right, so that's all I had on current pending proposals. Update on the MSRs, just so you're aware, update on the MSRs, the Plan West is a couple weeks behind right now on where we would like to see them be at. I think they found that there's a lot more information out there than they were realizing to collect. But they do believe that they will get back on track by the time we get to the May timeframe when we're looking at when the draft would be released. We still feel that there's a good possibility that we won't really be behind the whole process. We're just behind right now by a couple weeks. We have sent out, Plan West is going to be reaching out either tomorrow or next week, start reaching out to the San Rafael area ones to talk with them, to get some questions that they have, the things they couldn't find. The one comment that it's going to take a little bit longer to do San Rafael, because San Rafael actually has a lot of information online, which is very good. So the number of questions that San Rafael will have will be a lot fewer. The ones that they're having the most issue with is the CSAs, just because of how the county does its systems. It's a little bit harder for them to grasp that part. So they're going to be having some discussions with the county around that. We're trying to identify the right people for them to talk with at the county at this point. So, so that is where we're at with the MSRs.
On Plan West, do they know as yet whether they want to have any meetings in the areas, or are we going to wait and figure out?
That's actually up to the commission to decide to do, not them.
Yes, I get that, but based on what they have gathered so far, does it seem like that's something that we should be thinking about?
At the last meeting, we I thought, took the position that we wanted to do presentation of each one in the region that they were in existence, so we could make it easier for the general public to attend.
Yep.
We haven't scheduled those dates yet. I'm trying to make sure that before we schedule them, I want to make sure we have the drafts out or know when the drafts will be coming out so we can schedule them accordingly so people have a chance to read the reports, come to our meeting. That'll be what I like to do with these types of things is have the reports out for enough time for people to read and be able to make comments at the meeting, so we can use that as kind of our public comment for the draft report for the general public to give. They can always give written, but some people prefer to come and speak rather than give written comments. So this will give us the opportunity to do that.
Okay, great. And then you and I talked about Plan West maybe having a slightly greater level of detail on their invoices so that we
Yes.
can indicate,
I will make sure they have a little more detail on their invoices to
Yeah,
us.
thank you.
So if there's nothing else on that, new hire, just so you're aware, we do have out right now the announcement for the policy analyst position. That deadline, it's an open until filled, but what I kind of did is said anyone who submits by February 15th, which is tomorrow, will be in the first group of people that I review and call in for interviews the week of the 25th. Anyone who gets in after that, I will continue to review and call in as I see fit, or if we've filled a position. Hopefully, we have some very good candidates already. I kind of have had a test. We have 3 things that you need to turn in: your resume, cover letter, and supplemental questions. Most people submit their cover letter and resume, but forget to do supplemental questions. Those people just tend to get put in the thank you for applying stack, but we're not going to be looking at you if you can't figure out how to fill out the application correctly. Are you really going to figure out how to do an MSR correctly category? So we have about, I think there's like 7 or 8 candidates that I've gotten so far, and I won't be surprised if I get a few more tomorrow. Everyone always seems to submit the day that they're due. So we've got like 3 in today, just as an example, people waiting to the last minute. And this is when I tend to expect the good applications to come in. So we'll see what we get, and hopefully by the April meeting, you will see another person sitting over on this wall of people of your staff, and we will get them moving forward, get them up to speed on what's going on, and maybe even start our next year's MSRs a little bit early so they can get a head start and get this process moving. So we'll have 4 MSRs working all at the same time. We'll be a busy LAFCo at that point.
It will be very nice to be fully staffed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the last verbal update of these is the special districts elections. Those are due end of this week. Come Tuesday, we will put together who has applied for the special district seats. It's both, for full disclosure, it's Jack's seat and Lou's seat are the 2 seats that are up. We have 3 applicants so far for the regular seat and 1 applicant only for the alternate seat. So depending on how those elections go, the one who's applying for the alternate is also applying for the regular. So if that person were to win, we would actually not have an alternate and have to redo the election process for an alternate later. But at this point, we have 3 and 1. We might get some more before we have to put everything out, but we are moving forward.
You apply for the alternate?
None of the commissioners here applied to be the alternate for if anyone's interested in that subject matter. So that's all I have on the special districts election. So it's moving forward according to schedule. And then finally, you have the course. There's one article that LAFCo has mentioned in since the last meeting, and so that's included in your packet. The one item that I will toss in that's not in that I didn't discuss is don't forget you have Form 700s to fill out. Excluding the public seat, all of you have to fill them out for the other position you serve in. You only have to do 1 Form 700 if you include in the others category LAFCo. You don't have to do a second one just for us. So make sure you fill those out, put LAFCO in, and the public seat that we've talked to Chris about making sure his gets in a timely manner. So they are due, I believe, by April 15th, and if you don't turn them in, the FPPC at the state level has the ability to fine and do all sorts of nasty things to you, and I really don't encourage you to tangle with them. So that's all I have for my report.
Excellent. All right. Any commissioner announcements and requests? Nope. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Brown, seconded by Commissioner Rodoni. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. We are adjourned.
Bit of information after the meeting.